You better lock in because this video is gonna be a long one. It's finally time to do my sourdough from start to finish. If you're not ready right now, save it and watch it later. I have a total of 6 sourdough loaves to make today. 2 of them are going to be rosemary and the rest are going to be plain. I'm going to be showing you the process for the rosemary loaves. If you wanna see how I do my bulk sourdough in another video, just let me know. This is a double batch, so I'm gonna add 700 grams of water. I always do 350 grams per loaf, and that's just because I use a standard bread flour. If you're using a heartier flour like rye or even home milled flour, you can increase your hydration. I'm gonna add in 200 grams of starter, so 100 per loaf. This is Agatha, everyone say hi to Agatha. We're gonna give her a good mix until she looks like milk, just like that. I like my loaves a little bit on the saltier side, so I do 15 grams per loaf. To be honest, I could probably do more, but 15 is a sweet spot for me. Then I'm gonna add in 1,000 grams of bread flour, 500 per loaf. Then I'm gonna take my fresh rosemary, roughly chopped, and add it right in. I like to do 10 grams per loaf, so we have 20. Rosemary is pretty strong, and if you don't like rosemary, obviously don't make this loaf. But if you've been to Macaroni Grill and you love their peasant bread, it's rosemary and you're gonna love this. Now we're just gonna mix everything up all together. Obviously, everyone makes their sourdough different, and in my opinion, there is no right or wrong way to do it. People have been making sourdough for years, and I guarantee you the women hundreds of years ago were not measuring, were not temping, and were not timing their loaves to a T. While sourdough is complex, it is also very forgiving. One hill that I will die on though is that you stop mixing your dough initially once it's shaggy. No, you keep going for like 10 more minutes. You want to start the initial gluten development in your dough, and if you stop when it's shaggy, you're doing your bread a disservice. Miss Agatha needs to take a quick nap, so I'm going to cover her with a shower cap. It's been about 30 minutes, so it's time for our first round of stretch and folds. For my loaves, I prefer to do slap and folds. With wet hands, I'm going to scoop up underneath Agatha, slap her down, and fold over. Then I'm gonna rotate, pick up, slap down, fold over, and just keep repeating this process. As you can see, it doesn't take much for her to come together. Then I'm just gonna scoop her up and back in the bowl she goes. I don't do a set number of stretch and folds, nor do I wait a specific amount of time between stretch and folds. I let my dough tell me what to do next. What I mean by that is that if my dough can hold its shape after a stretch and fold for at least 40 minutes, then I know that she is completely done. This is the boring part of sourdough. We only check in every 30-40 minutes between stretch and folds. Other than that, there's not much going on right now. I lied! I do like to have a little measurement for my bulk fermentation, and this is when I take 43 grams of her, put it in this, and once it reaches the lid at the top, then I know that my bulk fermentation is about done. I don't follow it strictly, I use it more as a guideline. There's an entire measurement chart for like the temperature of your dough and how much you should be putting in a 2-ounce container. If I were to temp her right now, I'd say she's anywhere between 78 and 80 degrees. For funsies, let's find out. 78.2. Now, if you are doing this, I believe it's called the aliquot method. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but this goes right in with your dough. We want it to stay the same temperature for the most accurate reading. We are back again. It's been about 30 more minutes. It's time for another round of stretch and folds. I have a wet hand again, and I'm just gonna pull up until I feel some resistance and move around to another side. I like to rotate my bowl as I'm working across. A lot of people will tell you to do 4 stretch and folds. Like I said, I like my dough to tell me what to do next. So as soon as I can pull her up and she starts to rip or there's a lot of resistance, then I know she's screaming, "Leave me alone," like this. She doesn't really want to stretch anymore. So I'm gonna tuck her in and let her sleep for another 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Whenever I get to her, I'm helping my daughter do her homework right now. So we'll be back when we're back. An hour later, and we are back for our third round of stretch and folds. For this round, I'm gonna do a coil fold. So I'm going to pick up from these sides and pull up from the center and just let her wiggle her way down. As you can see, my dough looks very slick and shiny. Now, do you have to do every single different type of stretch and fold? No, you do what you like best and what works best for you and your dough. I don't know how many coil folds I've done. I'm sticking with when my dough tells me to stop, when it starts to resist, and it doesn't want to stretch anymore. It's about done for now. We're gonna cover her back up and we'll check in a few. Just by looking at this dough, I can tell that this is going to be our last round of stretch and folds, and by the way that it feels. That's not something I can explain to you guys. That's just something you kind of learn with practice. She is very silky smooth and she's starting to get some bubbles up on the surface, so I'm only gonna do a handful of coil folds this round. As you can see, our dough in our little 2-ounce cup has risen just a little bit, but we're looking for it to touch the top here. The reason why we're separating it is because this is not getting the air knocked out of it each time that we're doing a stretch and fold in this batch. You can visually try to aim for this to have a 50% rise, 70% rise, whatever you're looking for. But looking at it this way in a smaller container is easier for me to gauge. If you're struggling with bulk fermentation, try it this way and see if it helps. Since we're done with our stretch and folds, she is going to sit and continue to bulk ferment. This could take anywhere from 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours. Really depends on the environment and the temperature of your kitchen and just what's happening with your dough in general. I messed up big time. It is 7:35 p.m. I started this dough very late, so it's gonna be a pretty late night for us tonight. It is now 12:30. I've waited long enough. My dough has reached the top of its lid. Do I think it's done bulk fermenting? No. My reason being my finger still sticks a little bit when I touch the top. She does pull away from the sides, not as cleanly as I would like her to, but quite frankly, I'm done waiting. We're gonna add this back in. I like to sprinkle a little bit of flour on top. That way when I dump it out, it flours the counter for me. Clean dump, we love to see it. Since this is only 2 loaves, I'm just gonna kind of cut it right down the middle. And I do have my food scale on the side, so I am going to weigh it just to make sure that these are as even as I can get them. I fear maybe this may have over fermented. For my pre-shape, I do like to pull it out into a little bit of a rectangle. I am going to just roll it into a log, and then we're just gonna do a push and pull motion. We're using the tension of the counter to create a nice dough ball. We'll do it again with this one, kind of stretch it out into a rectangle. I'm gonna fold one side in, next side over, and roll up, and then use my push and pull technique with the counter to create tension to get my dough ball. We're gonna dust these with just a little bit of flour, and we're gonna cover them for what's called a bench rest. That means I'm just gonna leave them on the counter for like the next 15-20 minutes until they relax down after being pre-shaped. I will say my plain dough feels so much better than my rosemary dough. I'm not even going to do a pre-shape. I'm just gonna roll it into a ball. Usually I will only do a tight pre-shape if I think my dough is over fermented, just so I can account for that loss of oven spring. If I had to choose between over fermented or under fermented sourdough, I would choose over fermented every time. You can't see it, but they're done with their bench rest. I'm either gonna make a lot of people mad or I'm gonna make some new sourdough friends, but all I do is fold and plop. I'll show you again. Fold, plop. They're gonna look like this, and I'm gonna cover them with my shower caps. These are gonna sit for like 5 minutes before I come back and stitch them. I'll show you from this angle first, and then I'll bring the camera over so you can see like an overhead view. Take one side and kind of fold it over. I'm using my thumbs and my index fingers to pull up. I'm using my ring and my middle finger to pull and then tuck. Then I'm gonna pull up my corners and fold them over like a blanket. I'm gonna pull up on this side with my thumb and my index. I'm gonna use these fingers to pull and then tuck, just like that. Index and thumb, middle and ring, and tuck. And then on the ends, I'm gonna pull this flap up like a blanket and over, up like a blanket and over. These, along with the other 4 loaves, are now going to go into the fridge for the next 12 hours for a full cold proof. We're exactly almost 12 hours later, and it is finally time to bake. Our loaves look beautiful. I've already been baking this morning, so I'm just going to reuse my parchment paper. I lay mine directly on top and then flip. This is my bread lawn, and it's a magnet, so it just sticks on the fridge. I'm not gonna do anything fancy. I'm just gonna go for a nice shallow score right down the middle. And I don't use a Dutch oven, I use a loaf pan. This one I believe is 9 inches long. And we're gonna plop it right in. Do the same thing for this one. Put it right on top, press down, and flip. And a shallow score down the middle. You could decorative score it, but I'm not good at decorative scoring, so I don't do it. And into the pan, I'm gonna add in 2 ice cubes into each pan. To trap the steam, I'm just gonna put another loaf pan right on top and kind of make my own Dutch oven. I prefer using loaf pans just because of the shape. It makes for better sandwiches, and that way no one's fighting over the good middle pieces. My oven is done preheating. It's at 490 degrees, and these are gonna go in for 25 minutes with the lid on. Hey Siri, set a timer for 25 minutes. 25 minutes is up, so I have removed the lids and I've reduced the temperature of the oven down to 450 degrees for like the next 30 minutes. Our loaves are fresh out of the oven. I'm not gonna burn my hands, so I'm still gonna use my gloves, but look at how cute they are. In comparison to the original loaf, I can almost for certain say that my rosemary loaf was overproofed. Look at how much this one burst on the score versus the rosemary. It might be difficult for you guys to see, but this one has a much nicer belly on it. Regardless, all of these loaves are gonna be absolutely delicious, and I know I said that this would be from start to finish, but if you wanna see the crumb shot and wanna see me cut them open, you're gonna have to go to part 2.